Jonathan Lundy. Part 1. Cueing the Questions. Chapter 1. The Human Problem of Violence. Blessed are those who find wisdom, those who gain understanding. Her ways are pleasant ways, and all her paths are peace. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 13 and 17. What drives human violence? The cause of violence is one of the great questions that people of every age have asked. It has been explored in sacred texts, classical myths, philosophy, and fiction. It's one of the great questions that we will bring to our study of Scripture. The atheist writer Steven Pinker believes that violence is declining in our day. The decades since World War II have been decades of progress for racial minorities, women, children, gay people, and animals. In every case, quantifiable measures of violence, hate crimes and rape, wife beating and child abuse all point downward. Others are less sure. David Bentley Hart, for example, considers that Pinker is far too optimistic, demonstrating the ecstatic innocence of a faith unsullied by prudent doubt. But even Pinker is surprised by his own conclusions. After all, he argues, the biological urge is against us. Trends of violence reduction have to contend with powerful forces that oppose them. These include the dehumanization and demonization of outgroups, men's sexual rapacity and their proprietary sentiments towards women, manifestations of parent-offspring conflict such as infanticide and corporal punishment, the moralization of sexual disgust in homophobia, and our meat hunger, thrill of the hunt, and boundaries of empathy based on kinship, reciprocity, and charisma. In other words, as Pinker sees it, the problem comes down to human biology. Patterns that lead to violence are hardwired within us. Is this an interpretation that Scripture would agree with? If so, does it mean that violence is inherent and intractable? Is there any hope for a world at peace? Can human nature be overcome, as Pinker claims is happening, by a growth in empathy and with the benefits of a global perspective? Or are we doomed to squabble violently until the end of time? In Pinker's view, there is another barrier to violence reduction, and this one we will find very close to home. As if biology didn't make things bad enough, the Abrahamic religions ratified some of our worst instincts with laws and beliefs that have encouraged violence for millennia. The demonization of infidels, the ownership of women, the sinfulness of children, the abomination of homosexuality, the dominion over animals, and denial to them of souls. Pinker accuses the Abrahamic religions of making things worse, serving as reactionary influences that oppose human progress towards peace. As a Christian writer, I cannot answer for the Jewish and Muslim faiths, of course. But this challenge is hard to ignore because there are elements of our Scripture that would seem to support his claim. And there are certainly periods in the history of the Church that would provide evidence for a claim that the Christian faith has a violent tendency. So this brings us to another great question, one that we must squarely face. Is the Bible part of the problem? Or, to put it another way, is the Christian faith inherently violent? If it seems odd to begin our study of the Bible's teaching about human violence by listening to the voice of an atheist scholar, it should not. Pinker presents questions we should face honestly. Our answers will be of little value if we have not taken into account the most robust challenges that can be offered. It is the task of this book to consider questions such as these by hosting a conversation between Scripture and contemporary and historical thinkers on the subject of violence, all with attention to violence's contemporary and historical victims. And by so doing, perhaps we can discern and learn to walk in wisdom's paths of peace. Definitions and preliminary questions. We should begin with a definition. Many definitions of violence have been offered, but I propose a simple one which will underlie all that follows. Violence is the use of force or coercion.